Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
That's your house. Okay.
I don't know.
But, oh. Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the regular council meeting to order Tuesday, November 4th. Hastings County is situated on treaty land and it's rich in indigenous history and home to many First Nation and Indian people. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We acknowledge our shared obligations to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. I motion that the council regular agenda be adopted as presented. I'll move. I'll second. Any opposed? Carried. Does anyone have disclosure of interest? With public input, there's no public here. Announcements at this time. I have a motion that the minutes of the special council meetings held on September 2nd, September 30th, be adopted as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor? Carried. 6.2, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on October 21st, 2025 be adopted as presented. I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor? Carried. Jeremy? Okay, I'll get a motion on the floor. That the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting held on October 22nd, 2025 be received.
I'll move. I'll second.
Do you want to speak to anything on these minutes, Jeremy?
Not necessarily, but just that we did our fall walk around and try to come up with plans for the, put in the budget for this coming year, the new year coming.
Okay, did you want to speak to the item on the drummer, Shelley?
The recreation, the $15,000 for the $50,000 for the fall groomer, diamond groomer, that has, if council approves the minutes, then I'll approve that staff can go ahead and purchase fall groom.
That's part of this year's budget.
2025 budget.
He's fine with that then?
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Real board, it's a motion of the real board minute meeting held on September 23rd, 2025 be received.
I'll move. I'll second.
Do you have anything you wanted to speak to on that, those minutes, Don? What was the meet?
That's good.
Okay.
No, there was some lively discussion about getting some more detailed numbers about the actual cost of ice time and how much of that is subsidized by the taxpayers. So that'll be an interesting discussion moving forward, but it was good to get a budget done early.
The comments on that? Any questions? All approved? Carried. Next item we'll put on for discussion. Can I get a mover to put this on? Obligation.
I'll move.
I'll second. Okay. The reports in front of you, do you want to the chance to look at it? Did you want to speak to it first?
Yes, I can. There, you wish so. I apologize for bringing up for everybody. I just kind of got some copies there, but I'll just kind of highlight a couple of things that So on page 2, for those that have them there, it's just kind of showing you where we put the flat cat, which is a speed measuring device up to give us our data. So that's the location that we put it at on page 2. And really, the information that really I want you to kind of point out to on the document really is actual page 6. Then I'll speak to this for the most part. Page 5 just tells us like the best time for us to do some enforcement, which isn't really important for you. It's important for us to see when we're gonna go do some enforcement, when's the best time for us. But basically I had my member break down the traffic into different categories of how fast the traffic was traveling. And then you can see that there overall, the total number of vehicles traveling, you know, the posted speed limit was 80 vehicles traveling over the 90 km/h zone. Speed in that zone, sorry, was around 38%, which these numbers aren't, it obviously shows that we need to do some enforcement there, but it's not anything non-typical for anything else that we've seen in any other municipality. Like pretty much any road we can put speed measuring device on, and these numbers are in relation to other spots. I'm not saying it's not ideal, it's definitely an area where we could do some enforcement on, but it's not abnormal, is what I'm trying to say. So we just had it in certain other areas this year, and these numbers are within you know, something that we've seen. However, my plan is what I'm suggesting is that what we'd like to do is what I'm suggesting is we're gonna take, actually I've already started a focus patrol with our members. So starting yesterday, you know, our officers are gonna take some time. I don't want to give the time period out really per se, but we're gonna take some time to do some enforcement there over the next little bit. And then we'll try and see what that looks like. We'll do the focused enforcement for the next little while, and then I'll put the black cat, the speed measuring device up again. And then we can sit and see what that actually made a difference. So we'll take those numbers again, compare it to the numbers that you have today on page 6. And we'll see what type of, you know, reaction we got from the motorists, if anything, but we'll know then. So I think that I think it'd be wise for us to actually have, before, you know, I'm just suggesting that before you send some rain stuff, let's take a few weeks to see where we're at, what our numbers are. You know, we're obviously here to serve the community, so this is one thing that we can do that's gonna cost you nothing, just to sit there and say, hey, can we go and do some enforcement there, come back with the numbers again. We'll put the black cat back up for a week and then see, was there a change? What, and then if there was or wasn't, then what can we do in response to that? You know, if there was ideally a marked change in this guided behavior, then maybe it's just a matter of us going there every once in a while and making sure we're doing some enforcement there to, you know, keep the traffic, you know, traveling the way it should be. So, but that's kind of my suggestion or thoughts. And and I also let you just so you know, we picked the 90 km/h threshold. It's not that speeding 81 km/h is not a offense. It's just that when it makes it look like everybody's doing 1 km over speed limit, that's 95% of traffic. So if you look at it that way, it looks like everybody's speeding, but we have to add a little bit of ounce of common sense when we're trying to do the report. So I thought if we stuck with that number, that would kind of be a reasonable threshold for us to try and work with to see what really do we have, rather than every vehicle that's traveling over 81 km/h. If they're speeding, they would make the numbers look quite Jesus. Then we'll get questions or.
Any questions?
So that was set up by Anson?
No.
So selling black cat.
What about the trailer? I'll send you here. Okay, you want to speak to you? Report, George?
Yeah, first I'd like to thank Sean and the staff for doing this for us. It's an important, important that you know, safety first, and I'd like to thank you for that. On the report here, I kind of laid out, what their costs are gonna be, if you want to go with speed humps, or if you want to go with the delineators. Or if we want to go with another, electronic sign, when, the newer ones have a message, your speed, have a nice day, please slow down. And there was costing for that too, so I kind of gave 3 options in there that, we could look at. And, the council could make a decision on what they thought they would, way they'd like to proceed. I put in there also in this, some of the drawbacks to each one, there's some factors, we are a farming community. So some of these things, there'd be some noise, there would also be, the delineators might be a problem for farm equipment to negotiate. And basically, that's kind of why I come back with maybe the speed signs as our first form of doing it. Or trying to prevent some of the speeding and see if that would help us between that and enforcement. But as I say, it's up to council, whatever decision you want to make, you can proceed that way.
The current state signs. We have, are there 2 of them that are still working?
We got 2 that are working, but I'm not gonna say the best. I think the batteries are starting to get weakened. If it's a really sunny day, they seem to function, but soon it gets cloudy, seem to have a little issue, and that's usually a battery. Not that they can't be repaired, but
And these ones that you're talking about installing, are they a solar unit as well?
they are a solar unit. A lot of these ones you can buy. Can be hooked up to electricity somewhere, but you gotta obviously have a place you throw where you got storage. On a pole. And, you gotta deal with whoever owns the pole, whether they're gonna allow you to put it on there or not. You're gonna have your fee and hooking it up, but. Yeah, so the solar, other than after a few years, maybe the batteries becoming an issue, or like I say, unless something's changed, you can replace them, but I kind of think solar's the best bang for your buck right now.
Okay, I see according to the recommendation that if we bought 2 of them, the total cost of $11,000. So that funding would be coming from where?
Well, I guess that'd be, or I don't know if we put that on roadside maintenance, but Shelley would be able to tell me exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the 11,000 will be funded in 2025 from the road maintenance, and there's safety device costs is what we have it listed as, is that there was funding. That's it.
All right, so I've just got the motion in front of them is that. Yes, no.
Question, Mr. Chairman, are we still considering the Bedford Road here issue of reducing the speed from there into the village limits?
Or it didn't sound like it is, am I interpreting that right, George?
So at this point, we were going to work with the OPP, as Sean had said, and see if enforcement would be, help us out on that. And go from there first and see what report comes back when you put your black cat out again after the enforcement, see if that's got people slowed down at this point. It doesn't mean that we can't move forward with that down the road by any means. It's not you're not putting a bunch of money out for something that you spend a bunch of money, now you can't do, say, option B. That you still could.
Yeah, no, I was, my next statement, I guess, would be if we are still considering that. Possibly we should take a look at the enforcement. And see if it's doing the job, but, I'm wondering if we don't go ahead with that, and then we do get the speed limit, we all know. Once it's down and they know it's not there anymore, it would back up again, but. If they're aware of that, our drivers, possibly this is gonna take away any speeding into the village area anyway by lengthening that, especially on the Campbellford Road. There are other areas, I guess that's, we'll have to deal with them as we deal with.
I guess. Yeah, it doesn't sound like we're ruling it out.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine.
Through the chair, 2 things. Number 1 was, right there where you come up Bedford. Just the way the road is, I think we will do a little more brushing there. to help give us a better line of sight. I think that's something we can do to help us out there too. And, number two thing I want to mention, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes, when you change speed limits, you still get those drivers that now they get this feeling that you've held them up. And they tend to, I'm gonna say, do foolish things where they'll pull up and pass where they shouldn't. Whether they're just mad making a statement, I can do this or that. But I'm gonna say that sometimes those decisions are more costly because of those. Whether they're mad because they got slowed up, it sometimes can lead to bigger problems. Just because patience is not something that a lot of people have.
At the Bedford Road, do we have a sign? Hidden,
There is one listed.
In the intersection.
Coming from the east,
coming from Central.
Yeah.
Coming into Strands,
coming from the east, there wasn't any signs because it is an intersection that,
yeah, you can see. There is one coming from the west.
and that's another, form of what you could do there too. Counselor, is that you could always put lights on top of that hidden intersection too, if that was if we're having some issues there, or people are finding their homes getting hit. That's another, tool in the toolbox that you could put a light on, to help draw attention to it too.
Yeah, it is busy, especially with farm equipment, yeah. Okay, so the motion that's in the agenda,
So, sorry, through the chair, one more question. So the radar speed sign installation, where would they go? Where would they be located? How far out of town?
Well, I guess that would be a little bit of a discussion we can have right now. If we're keenly just trying to get between Bedford Road and town, we would probably put them obviously 250 feet or so on west side of Bedford. That's the stretch that they're finding and coming into town. We would, you either put them. It's two ways looking. You gotta put them back there to tell people that they're gonna have to slow down, or you put them halfway up to remind them that they're not doing the speed limit. So I'm kind of in favor you would have them that you're in that zone where they're not following the speed limit, because part of that sign is telling you to slow down and go over speed, that's the idea.
So really, we have two problems. We've got Bedford Road and then coming into town.
So from Lake Road on is kind of a separate, because you're down to 50 there. And then if you change the speed limit at Bedford, you'd be 60 to where you change to 50.
So we would be using these more for coming into town.
My suggestion would be, because you have houses that you're coming into town and where speeds were noted that they feel that they're speeding there, and your trail crosses there, that probably in that, just after the corner after Lake Road coming into town was where I would think you would want it. And I think you would want it just on the other side of the trail. People are coming up through there that they got to hit at their speed. And Sean, do you have any thought on that, or?
Through the chair, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, George. I think that the one area that we noted where we put, the reason why we put the speed measuring device on that Trans Canada Trail is because it's there's that little knoll there. And then that little hill there, so the traffic, even though it's not. The traffic that's actually somewhat traveling also with the speed limits, it's still a bad spot over that hill. And of course, at speeds that makes it compounds that, but I agree with. If we put those spots where you're suggesting, George, I think that would be a good strategy to try and, slow that traffic down before it gets to that spot, so.
Because that is part of what that sign does, is give you that message, right? And the message is that you can program them, or maybe there's 7, but most of the ones I've seen, it's slow down, watch your speed, so this actually physically telling you basically the speed.
now these are a portable unit, they can be moved.
Well, if we do what we did before, where we made our stands that we can portably move them, yes.
It's shown on that, that's it.
No, and we did have one sign that was over there before, the one that got the end reason they bring back was, an incident where we were plowing and we had the vehicle that decided to push our plow truck a little further to the shoulder and it hit both wings. So we can make them portable or we can make them permanent. It's whatever, council decides, we can do it either way.
We've got to start somewhere. Like nothing's been much. I would say if, because there's no shoulder now, it's gonna have to put a permanent post in. To make it work somehow.
We could put a permanent post in and it's not that we couldn't remove it off there. If we have a permanent post someplace else and if you're gonna leave it up for 2 to 3 months, sure, we can do
That's a compromise. So the motion is that the report from the Public Works Manager entitled Campbellford Road Speed Cameras Traffic Calming be received and further. The council approves the recommendation for the RAD 60 LES speed signs to be installed at a cost of $5,500 for each sign for a total of $11,000. To be funded from the roads maintenance safety device costs in 2025. And that the staff and the LPP bring back further data analysis on vehicle speeds on Campbellford Road. For council to consider a potential speed reduction in speed limit. We have a mover for that. I'll move.
Oh, we do already have a member,
Okay, all right,
Deputy Mayor Stones, and Councilor.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
good with that. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Yes, if you want to go last.
John, I just wanna thank you for the work you guys have been doing with the school buses.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just, cause I work for Spencer Carty, so
Oh, okay.
I know what you guys have been doing the last while. Everybody appreciates it, our end anyways.
You know, there's been several platoons that have been basically just picking up a bus at the school, and they've been following them.
Yeah.
On the roads and trying to, we've had no luck so far, but it's not from that, we're trying, but that, and so I appreciate that, they all pass it on, it's needed, so. I just wanna say it's been great to work with this valley, working with Shelley and Jordan and stuff, and working on this has been pretty easy when we're all working together, so I think working on this valley, it's not just easy, so I appreciate it. By working together and. So, thank you. I'll see you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, I can give you a copy of this story.
For a good thing, you better explain.
Yes. Yeah, very sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, we go on to 7.2, which is the Public Works Manager's Report for October. We need a motion that Public Works Manager report for October be received. Moved by Don, seconder. Second by Dean. Floor is yours, George.
Morning, council and mayor. Here's your monthly report. Usually we started here, maintenance, you'll see we did some maintenance of our equipment. If there's any questions on that, your use piece of equipment, feel free to ask me.
I don't have anything else.
Oh, that, we're going to talk about the grader at some point.
We can, and then the road maintenance, I just listed all the things that we have on, right now, and I think you'll notice that we tried our own crack sealing. Down here by the liquor store, and now past the pro there, you'll notice that we tried that, we rented a machine. We'll see how it goes in spring, whether we're heroes or zeros, but, I will say the boys look like they did a pretty good job for their first time at it, and, if it works out, I think it's something that will do in-house a little more. And you also see our bridge reports, Olson's came in. And we're just studying them right now, they're always very interesting. There's nothing there, it moves on, we did some building maintenance, just some small things, if you notice that the floors were waxed in, the building here at this end. Thank, colleague, Matt Richmond, who looked after that, getting that organized and. It seemed to go pretty good. And, there's some routine things that we go through seasonally there, finishing it all. And under administration, again, some things that goes on every year, and then the new trader lease is in there. And I believe it's April. It's due to release or buyout. Never comes to questions.
We can talk about the income budget, so you guys are aware. I don't know how many of you got a chance to go and look at the bridge project, that went very smooth.
Looks nice.
I think Derek, like putting together a video on.
They were out there 2 or 3 of the days, so I hadn't I don't think they had a chance if I played it on, but yes, they did get some. Words.
Well, anybody did get a chance to go. So, an interesting project. Went well.
And
The video, there were some pictures taken as well, and the video of both are gonna get put on the website, so everyone can take a look and see what went on. It was very slick. We're closed on Monday,
we were around 10.
yeah, open again Friday. Like 5 days to install the bridge. It was
Yeah.
very well.
We probably would have had it open on Thursday was our goal, but boy, it rained hard and we were soaked, so we took that one more day. And they gotta come back because of the weather, they just got a couple of minor things they gotta finish up, but they were soaked both, actually Thursday and Friday, and that was fine. That didn't affect the bridge opening up or safety, so.
Well, they were an amazing crew. They dropped those bridges right on the line. They drew, they fell right into place. It'll be interesting to see when the building all comes in where we're at.
And one thing I was gonna do, try to do is out looking at, Monday morning, just to see settling there, how things are going. We do have a crew in doing some asphalt repair, in town today, hopefully. I may put a little asphalt just at the approaches, right where that, cement beam is, just to protect it from the plow blades. Go over, just in case somebody forgets and heads over just a little bit fast so we don't catch it. So I think we're just gonna put a little bit of asphalt there. And we have to sleep a little easier at night knowing that it couldn't, only that chance of catching it. And then finally, we have some of our park maintenance stuff on here as well. And we had our park walk around and it was good. Suggestions, and I think everybody was on the walk around, saw that we have cleaned up quite a bit of trees that have been dying and trying to get things looking better the right way. And we did just plant 3 trees this past week. In the park. Yes. We have a few more to come down and we'll keep working away. And under our future, just sand domes will be getting built here shortly. We do have salt on site. I ordered some a week ago. And ready to go, and our guardrails, the company we use always been good to us, but they're small, but they guarantee me they're still getting here, so. Which has probably been good since I was bugging them to get here, we've had a few more taken out. Some accidents, so we're had to have them back. And then we're working on a 2026 budget preparation and. That's kind of long and short.
Anybody have anything?
Just one quick question, George. You know, Derek was waiting for the chargers for the road, the signs, with the market coming up this Friday. Do you know if they're in yet or?
So I was able to get them. He showed up and I went out and forwarded to the fellows where they did have one plugged in and it was charged. We plugged the other one in, it is charged this morning and just everybody's not every way, but my plan is for Jeannie and myself and Ollie are gonna put them up tomorrow morning. Then we're gonna leave them where they are. And Rich has offered on Saturday to change the date for Remembrance Day shutdown. And then I'll start on Saturday on signs as well. So we should be good.
I think those were a great purchase. I would too.
Well, they're very handy. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything for George? If not, all in favor to receive? It's carried.
Did you want to do the next one?
Sure. Can I get a motion to put the November 4th environmental managers report in for? Don, second, Bob. Morning, Ozzy. Morning, councilors. Eric. Just a. There. Okay, just a brief overview of last month and then current events moving forward. As George mentioned, we've got a company in today to do some asphalt repairs from various big locations. We've got one on Frankfurt Road from water service repair and one on Elizabeth Street from last Friday's dig. This will be repaired today. We have NPL Canada on site with some ongoing sanitary sewer main flushing. So they were here last week. They lost a couple days with heavy rainfall. Should be finished up by the end of this week. The goal is to get all of town flushed. New production well, so well 7. Water treatment plant, it's been drilled. The screen has now been installed, bottom of the well. And ongoing work includes the 24-hour pump test and water quality testing. I was in conversation with the Trent Conservation Coalition Program Coordinator this morning to discuss further steps moving forward to bring this well online, which would include budgeting next year for an update of the wellhead protection area vulnerable analysis to submit into for a new section 34 notice with the Conservation Authority. And following that, we would have a section 48 notice, which would allow us to add this well into our drinking water license. Some changes since last time we brought a new well online is there's a bill 56, which is to streamline processes for minor modifications. So this might change. And big time from last time. It was multiple years waiting on getting the approvals. So since this well is in between 2 existing wells, we might be able to really streamline processes, save some money. So I'll be providing updates probably at budget time with where we're headed with that, some anticipated costs. So we do have confirmation on capacity.
The pump test will really delineate the capacity. And street pumping station, the transfer switch has been installed by CWD Electric. So the upgrades were to the transfer switch, so we have a brand new transfer switch at that station now. Ultraviolet disinfection equipment at the water treatment facility. So we have received the new lights. We've got them in storage at our wastewater treatment facility in a climate controlled room. Installation date, as much as we are trying to get that installed this year, it's been bumped to February, second week of February. Our Trojan Technologies staff are backlogged, so it is what it is. It's nice to see them on site though, we physically have the equipment, so. Water service replacements, October 6th, we had one at on Frankfurt Road. Forgot the address in there, just forget the address specifically. And then October 31st, we had one on 31 Elizabeth Street. Staffing update, we have
public works operator that has transitioned into the utilities split role as well, so we've been training that gentleman on site. And seems to be going good, so looking forward to advancing his training, giving him some more time at the treatment facilities. Sterling landfill site, we've had some recent break-ins and thefts, nothing of any major value. We do have a small solar panel that we had attached to the Sterling landfill attendant building, was removed. There were some damages to the fence, so wheelbarrow stolen. So we contacted OPP. We actually did have a landfill attendant on site when he was on site. There was the people that were in the site, so we do have a picture of the license plate. That's what I can tell you right now about that. And we've done some modifications to the existing fence. Put some barbed wire up, trying to find a cheap solution to make it a little harder to get into. Got an option there, come budget time to, you know, some surveillance. Any questions?
Any feedback on the recycling pickup?
Early on, it wasn't, the transition did not go smooth with dates getting mixed up by the contractor. The only concern I've heard lately is at the depot sites. Well, don't care for the stairs going up to the cardboard. So we've got it's a 3-step ladder with railings that we put up. You know, our other options are to put a permanent a dock in, but kind of limited to space and layout. But you know, it's kind of a cheap, easy solution to get us going. But if I haven't heard anything lately. I think it was a lot of change, and it's not what people were used to. But I don't see it as a problem. I've been on site.
It seemed to be used.
Looked at it, seems to be user friendly. Of course, the other option is everybody does have curbside pickup. So if they don't feel comfortable using that setup at the depot, they put it at curbside.
We're still leaf pickup is, we have a date from that.
Yeah, we do actually have a date set for that. Top of my head, it's right after the second week of year hunting, with tradition. November, somebody told me already November 20.
Right. Are we allowing people to drop off leads at the landfill themselves or not?
Yeah, that's always the case.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Thank you, Matt.
Good, thanks, man. Harold.
7.4.
Derek's not here, so you got to call him.
Oh, my goodness. Can I have a mover, please, for the fire chief's report from October 2025? Jeremy
I'll say,
and Don. So the fire chief's report is here as presented. Doesn't seem like there's anything. I believe the fire ban is still active, or has it been rescinded after the weekends?
So,
No, Chair, yeah, it's still on, it's still, the fire ban is in effect, exactly as it has been with the restricted ban from 7 PM to 7 AM. Campfire zone ID, and we haven't heard anything even with the restrictions for the water levels. If those changed, then that'll help, but the issue really is the reservoirs for they're depleted, and so we're waiting for that to come up, but there is any change, we'll make sure that we post it out to Facebook and put it on the website and council let us know.
I think according to the news this morning, the October rainfall was sufficient to lift the, but it'll take a long time before the ground catches up. So
Anyone have any further input? All in favor?
thank you. Okay, I need a motion that the building inspection service board report on October 2025 be received.
I'll move.
A second.
Okay. Any questions on that? Straightforward. All in favor? Great. The bylaw enforcement service board report for October 2025 be received. Move for that.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, so the next one is the road system review. Or should you just put that on the floor for discussion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, so everybody's got that report in front of them. Kathy, if you want to speak to highlights, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was asked to provide a report, giving some options of ward system review and, I have provided, including my report that I did. 2020, about 5 years ago, pretty much. And I also got a legal opinion, from John Ewart, who was our IC before. And, the pros and cons as detailed in my 2020 report, actually, most things he and I had discussed and they still stand today, which is why it was attached. Basically, if council decides that they want to pass a bylaw to abolish the ward system, then that triggers a 45-day appeal period of the bylaw. Anyone can appeal it to the OLT. And should someone make an appeal, it probably would be passed by the December 31st deadline. Timelines at this point are quite tight, and that itself could trigger an appeal. But again, it's up to council how they wish to proceed.
Through the chair. Is there a cost for this appeal?
Through the chair, I believe there would be legal costs if we had to represent.
No, last time we went through this, it had a number of, what is it called, Kathy, a number of, not complaints, but numbers.
So the last time that we did this, we did put out a questionnaire, and this time last time it was a paper copy, but this time we did do it on our website. And it did come back that people didn't want it. However, during the election, I can't tell you the number of times as clerk, I was approached by a voter saying, but I live in town and I want to vote for somebody out there, vice versa. And I said, well, you know, that option was put out to the public and most people turned it down. So there are a lot of people out there who felt that they should be able to vote for anybody they wanted. So it's kind of a toss up, really.
So through the chair, removing awards, would it simplify things for administration in the election?
Through the chair. Absolutely it would. You don't have to worry about, we only have 2 wards, so it's not a lot. It's not like we have 6 or 7 wards in a larger council. We only have the 2 wards. It would just literally be, getting rid of that, and then everybody votes. It's just the township is then one large ward for election purposes. It's easier, yes, as one ward, but it's not a lot for us currently where we are. The 2 wards, it's not difficult per se. The only time it will get difficult is I can see down the road, should the former village grow, more population, we would then have to look at a ward boundary review, because right now it's fairly evenly split population wise between the 2 wards. And if one ward got substantially larger, then we have to look at next steps as to what we do, then that would be a little more difficult.
It is through the chair, it is. I see what you're saying, it is pretty evenly split, but if you look at as a province, and you look at the number of municipalities in the province,
and how many use the at-large system. It's close to 50% now. And even in some of the larger municipalities.
Well, I think it has a lot of advantage, the partnership, if you get the top 4 or 5 candidates, you're not knocking somebody off because they don't live in that particular ward. And it means people that are running or representing have to represent everybody all the way through. And I'm not saying they don't do that now.
I think it gives a stronger sense too of a shared community. I mean, amalgamation happened in '96. So what did we do? We just separated the town and the township, but they're together, but they're not really together because we put the wards in, so we've separated them again. So I think my view is to have one municipality that's together. And that we represent the concerns of the whole municipality. Especially the municipality the size that we got.
I'll have to disagree with that for the simple reason. I get more calls from people that live in the township than they do in the village.
I get more
In
calls.
regards to issues. So. I feel like I'm a counselor's turning rod. My ward is number 2, the village, but I still am there for the people of the township. And I think vice versa. I think Jeremy likely gets a lot of, because of his reputation, and he's been on the council for a decent number of years. People know, and I don't know, I like the ward system myself. I think, you know, it gives, I know people in the township, because I've lived here most of my life. But, you know, a lot of people that if you don't, it's a great time to make acquaintances. I don't see any reason for getting rid of it, you know, these people that wanted to, as Kathy said, that wanted to vote for somebody in the township. For what reason? You know, like,
Well, probably their mindset was they, you know, they're representing us, so they go for them too, but.
yeah,
It's, I kind of agree with what you're saying, and I think for me, it would be a hearing from the people. Really is what I want, what I think I want, is what the people that are voting in want, really, like we have to put it out there somehow. Even if it was on the part of the election. You wanna go to the open or the award system,
Can we do it as a referendum question and like it?
That's a good question. I would have to double check that because I think there's timelines to get that sorted before the election. I don't have the Elections Act in front of me, but I can find it and let you know.
Okay, well, that's the third option, but
My 2 cents, I agree with Don, the people that, I don't get it a lot, but the people who come up and talk to me. Just think of me as a counselor, not particular to Ward 2 or Ward 1, they have a question or a problem, and they bring it to me no matter who I'm supposedly representing in detail. I'm also concerned a little bit about the timeline, that this is a big question, that it does feel rushed. And I think if we do leave this for the next council to talk to, but make sure that it becomes an item, then you have a little bit more time, I think, to consider the matter.
But you just said that you don't care where the people come from and talk to you, which word. So it really doesn't matter.
No, but in terms of setting up council, I think those are 2 different things. I think that a member of the public can talk to anybody. George, Matt, Shelley. It's, I don't think it's the board system entrance into the discussion at all. I think that's more just for setting up the election and how council comes to be.
okay, so we have all sides presented on this one.
There's no right answer.
No, there isn't. I think, I mean, personally, I represent, as mayor, or it doesn't affect me the same way.
How many of the wards in Hastings started?
How many of the municipalities have resistance?
I read it, I think there were 4 that have the wards, are at large in Western.
Now, keeping that in mind, we're one of the, would be our second largest population.
Yeah.
Athens, yeah, so some of them only have like 350 residents. So ward system would make no sense.
But may, if it's like Caroline says, a big question. Maybe it's something that we ask staff to make sure they bring to the attention of the new council early in their. In the new council, to start preparing for it within the first couple of years, so that you're not looking at it. It's every time we talk about this, it's always 6 months before the next election. Well, if we had to start talking about this in a year or 2 before the election, we might have got where we want to be. Or where the people want to be, or like what everybody's a voice in here, where would we end up?
The referendum, Kathy. If you guys think, right, if you referendum is put out there and it's a no, is there a time limit to come back or? Yes?
I'm looking at the Municipal Elections Act right now under section 8.1 conditions resubmitting a question. So by law to submit a question to the electors, which this would be off the top of my head, just, quick interpretation. The bylaw would have to be passed on or before March 1st in the year of a regular election, at which it is intended to submit the question to the elector. So it looks like we could put a question on, providing we pass the bylaw before March 1st next year, asking for that question.
I mean, that gives the next council something to work with.
Then they would have the.
I'd have to do a little more research into how
But
to
that's
get-
different.
probably do this, but yeah, that might be something. we
Because
could do.
every time we put out a survey, we probably are getting the same percentage of voters as what every survey we do get. Right, like we don't. I know the number count's not high either way,
It's not a
so,
huge return.
We get what, 2,500 ballots more than that election time,
Yeah.
so that would be a lot of responses.
Through the chair, I think this time the results of any survey we put out, I believe it would be different, because if we did put out, if you were gonna survey the public, it would be on our website, and it would be electronic only, and you'd have to submit it that way.
Yeah.
There were some challenges last time with the way it was done, which I believe contributed in part to the answer to that.
So we could still put out a survey now.
Through the chair, yes, you could. But you would also want to follow that up with you could put the survey out to perhaps gauge public opinion. But then you would want to follow it up if you're gonna do that with I put the question on the ballot for 26.
yeah, we don't wanna get that confused that it's gonna be for that election.
It might
That'll be
confuse
okay.
people if we put out a questionnaire and then like a questionnaire now, and then it's also a question next October. It might confuse people because they might think we already, have an opinion on this. Why are we being asked again at this point, but it's entirely up to council what they wish to do.
Well, I don't want to drop it completely. I like the idea of if we can still get it out as a referendum. That puts it on the table for the next. Wants to put that as a motion, it's not written. Okay. So the direct staff to come back with a report.
So we
That's
do- We do have mover and seconder to put the motions in my report on if they are accepting, creating a third motion that they could move. a
So we
second.
need to know timelines and the question.
So just to be clear, so the motion that's on the council agenda right now has an or in it. So I think council wants to give specific directions, so we could say that the report from the clerk be entitled, be received, and further, that the staff bring back a report to put a referendum question on regarding the dissolution of the ward boundaries for next council report, or to bring it back for consideration, and then direction. This is not part of the resolution, but the direction would then come back after that report came back to council about putting it on passing the bylaw and then putting the question on the ballot. That's what,
Still got time to do that.
so you'd still have a report come back. From that report, council can make the decision if you want to do the referendum, pass the bylaw. And then the question would be on the ballot, and that would be in place for the 2030 election. Instead of the 2026 election.
So what do the movers say?
I think I moved that. 10%. That's fine with me.
Would you, Dean?
Yeah, I don't think we can advance on this, so sure. I'm good with it.
Yeah, just because our timelines are really tight on us, right? So-
It's too bad, because the certain didn't. All in favor? Okay. The next one, the draft 2026 draft budget for the Lower Trent Conservation Authority. See. Move for that, please.
No move.
Seconder.
A second.
And I'll speak to this one. There's been a lot of work put into this budget, and I realize it's a 10.5, they're struggling to cover, because it is such a small budget, we're struggling to cover our costs and keep it running. Now, having said that, I don't know how many of you are aware that last week the province came out with an announcement regarding conservation authorities. They're intending to reduce them from, I believe, 36 to, I think we talked to either 5 or 7 regional. And that will not take effect until the election of 20 of next year. There is a consultation period. Sure what we're discussing. But the structure going forward will be significantly different. And whether there will be elected officials sitting on those boards now, we don't know. So the motion is still to receive and approve the budget. If there are any questions, but the specific budget is presented. Okay. All in favor? Soon we'll be getting one shortly from. Yes, Kathy.
Sorry to interrupt, we do have our closed meeting scheduled for 11 AM, so we're getting very close to that. I don't know if we have. Not online yet, no? Okay. So you'll be watching that. Zoom, and we don't have to. Okay, 7.
All right, we keep moving until we can. All right, the next motion is that the CHSM, Center Hastings Support Network, Rural Transit Partners Quarterly Meeting Minutes for October 16th be received. Mover for that, please.
I'll move.
Okay. Before I ask for a vote on that, the transit system is still it's an on-call system. We haven't really received a lot of data. We did get some of their, Caroline did get some last at the general meeting. But they haven't been able to break it down as to what Sturgeon Run is receiving in terms of services. In correspondence with Victoria, who manages it, they're not really sure of a timeline when that's going to be a service that can be provided to everybody. That it looks like they will never achieve a bus service again. It will be an on-call system. We looked at it last year when this came up. We do have an opportunity to possibly go with Hoodie Transit, which could provide a similar or better service. I realize we don't put a lot of money into this, but by putting any money into it, they become eligible for a gas tax, I believe. So stay where we are, and then we continue contributing to Center Hastings Support Network. Or if we decide to go with Clean Transit, then we'd have to make that discussion. That's a lot to take in. My suggestion is that we ask staff to come back with a report to our next meeting as to what our options are. Any questions?
Just to comment, that as a person who represents council, at the transit partners, I mean, the perception is they're trying very hard to bring this into line. But it's certainly very bumpy, and if there are options out there for Sterling, for Quinny, we should certainly hear what those options are, so we can make an informed decision, so I would very much be in favor of continuing at the moment to support Center Hastings Transit, but definitely looking at our options, so at some point we can decide how to move forward.
No, the Deserato transit shut down there a month ago, they folded. It's not, it's a difficult service to provide.
Yeah, it's even when they were full force. They didn't have that gas tax revenue coming. You know, it was a good service and everything, but. You know, once your vehicles get older and stuff. There's a lot more cost there than just fuel. And regular maintenance, so. That's probably what they were getting into, because they had a couple buses that they were doing it with. So. And they are trying some other different things, just because I know they bankrupt
Yeah,
Valley.
it's the pilot.
That just
project.
passed this week, or past week, they tried their first one, so. They're trying some bigger ones, which makes sense. But I think that, if we can see what Quinny can do for our people without. Just, we just had to support this, it wasn't really a big amount of financial support. They just need a little bit of money from us and our support to help them receive their gas tax they need. That was the biggest part of that. Because I don't think we ever, give a whole bunch of
No,
funding, but we just give them our support. Hoping they were able to succeed with whatever they were doing. But it's, service getting more and more for people.
So especially if we could ever move forward and getting a medical center or something in Sterling, that's something we're gonna have to look at. How are we gonna get people transported to and from? If they,
They kind of look after that a little bit now, but they have vans that they run around with,
Yeah.
right, so. That's, yeah, that's all in the picture, the picture's getting bigger all the time, not smaller, right? So.
so. Do you want to ask staff to come back with a report on what our options are?
I think both options we need to look at really. Supporting, but still look for what we have that could be offered to us. If Quinny's even willing to help this, but
Yeah. All right, so all in favor then of asking staff for a report. And online there analysis. Right. Be a motion then to convene and close at 11 a.m.
I'll move.
I'll second.